New moon. Wait. Oh no, I thought it was fucked up. The recording. It's not. It's fine.
Oh, fuck.
I'm recording on 2 tracks. It's real weird. New moon. How does this bit work? If
you give a rule about the moon.
But like,
I really want to see but Bill Maher is such a stoner, he should fuck up more in his new rules. He should be like, fuck. Start again.
There's a comedy Bang Bang segment, which is actually how I found out about new rules, where there's a guy who does new no-nos and then like
yeah, it's Paul Rust.
Yeah, he doesn't do it correctly. He's like, new no-nos. If you're at a stoplight, you gotta wait till it's green. New no-nos. Stoplights mean stop.
Bill
I can't
Maher,
relate to that as a New Yorker.
Yeah.
Bill Maher has to fuck up constantly. He edits it to make himself look smart.
Yeah.
He's like
well, isn't it live?
Is it?
It's in front of a live studio audience.
I mean, it is real time.
All right.
That's why people get slimed on that show. That's real slime.
Oh, that's why it's called real time?
Yeah.
You ever have that happen to you where you're like, oh, that's why they're called walkie-talkies, like 30 years into your life?
Yeah. Has this happened to you?
I'm going to look up Bill Maher outtakes.
Okay.
They have to exist.
I'm going to do my new moon if we're still recording.
Okay.
New moon. When it's harvest season, yeah, the moon's red. New moon.
New moon, harvest moon. Make a movie out of that game.
See, that's how you do it, Jake.
Get them. Okay. Hey, this is a new thing we can do with these headphones. I'm going to pause real quick. All right, this is Bill Maher bloopers coming up.
Tree, yellow ribbon around yellow tree.
Oh shit, Eric Estrada just punched Bill Maher in the face. Sorry, you couldn't see that. New moon. Okay, that was a video of Eric Estrada and Bill Maher on Jerry Springer, and they were like playing Pictionary. And Eric Estrada, when he got it, he goes, "It's a tree." He like thrusts his fists up in the air, like, "I did it!" And fucking Bill Maher standing behind him, he got punched in the face.
Savage.
That was pretty cool.
Did you see him get owned last week by Representative Katie Porter?
Oh, here we go.
This was
Eric
pretty
Estrada?
Good. No.
No, the
maybe by
the
extension.
B-man.
Yeah, he had her on, and she's actually really funny. She was cracking jokes throughout the whole thing, and then towards the end, he's talking about abortion, and he's saying, like, I've always been squishy on this, because he says that, like, after his older sister was born, the doctor was like, all right, this is no more kids. You can't do this.
If you have another son, he's going to be a piece of shit late night host.
Yeah.
I'm telling you now.
Yeah. And Katie Porter, she stepped in and is like, well, your mother made her choice, and she had that opportunity to make the choice, and we are living with the consequences of that choice. And it crushed.
Yeah.
Everybody in the studio was laughing except for Bill Maher.
The whole crowd wanted Bill Maher to get aborted.
Yeah. He can't, but it's like they're his fans. They just, even if fans will like laugh at roasts of the people they like, but he cannot take a joke unless it's about how many women he's fucked or how much weed he smokes. He never is self-deprecating at all.
Yeah, that is like a thing.
Those aren't self-deprecating things at all. Those are just cool things.
You should have been aborted. Total fun deprecating rib there. That's the thing about like smug, fucking smarmy, like truth-tellery comics like that, is that like they have no sense of humor about themselves.
Yeah.
But they'll swear up and down. They're like, yo, anything's funny, dude. Anything's a joke.
Right.
Except for my feelings.
There's one thing that's not a joke, and it's my 7th grade experience.
And the only explanation for people not laughing at a joke is you're too much of a snowflake. You're too sensitive. You can't handle my telling it like it is.
Right.
So I've been beefing with those guys a lot. That type of comic, and
Truth tellers.
something occurred to
You've been
me.
beefing with truth tellers.
Fucking Legion of Skanks and all that shit. Their whole fucking thing is like, I'm not political, and yet I believe in free speech, but I'm not political, and all that shit at the same time.
That's the appropriate place for Bill Maher. Like, he should be, by all
He's
rights,
one of the Skanks?
demoted from HBO to Legion of Skanks.
He's like he's like annoyed. He's at the creek, and he's like, new rule, don't blow jewel smoke in my face.
New rule: don't run the light downstairs.
But I've been thinking about those guys a lot because, like, all this shit is going on, and something occurred to me, which is that like all of this has made our unofficial mascot of the show, Random, like way less annoying to me. Like, he's way more funny and like playful about the sort of weird nemesis thing he has going on with me.
Playful in the way that he's a cartoon bat person.
Yeah.
Is that, though, because he doesn't command a legion of skanks?
Yeah, he's one guy.
Yeah.
He's just forming his legion now. That's why you like him now.
He doesn't have fans or anything. He's just one fucking weird guy.
Right, but if he did, then, look out.
Let's face it. Let's start the show. It's the random episode.
Yeah, let's fucking face it.
Lock them into positions of hopelessness and helplessness. The government gives them the drugs, builds bigger prisons, passes a 3-strike law, and then wants us to sing God Bless America. No, no, no. Not God Bless America. God damn America. That's in the Bible for killing innocent people. God damn America for treating us citizens as less than human. God damn America as long as she tries to act like she is God and she is supreme.
You probably heard us talk about show mascot Random, the angel from hell.
I think it's Random.
Random.
It is random.
He's dominant.
Yeah.
And you've thought,
With the
I
capital
don't know
M.
who that is. It's not a celebrity. Well, we'd like to talk about that for a minute.
We've been referring to this guy over the course of the podcast, and I think we never properly introduced him. So to give everyone like a fucking to catch you up, to give you a primer on our friend Random, we should just kind of go through his history and body of work.
First thing we got to do is play the rap video.
Yeah.
You can't explain him without the rap video. Random is an artist in the New York City community who we know because of shared open mic groups on Facebook, where he harasses women in public and then posts a video of him doing that at a stand-up show or at an open mic. He'll do a set about how these bitches are bitches, and then someone will go, hey, and then he will go off on them, and that's the video. And then he'll add applause in later. But before that, much more important,
It's Random, the angel from hell. Conscious awareness, I'm a disaster, so Kashmir. Dark philosophical dystopian comedy actor. Weird loner, reject outcast now as a rapper. Ridiculous
Now, we can't play over
nonsensical
20
pop
seconds,
script
but we will owe
rehasher.
Random money, which is a terrible situation I do not want to get into.
He uses the Bones money from the fucking Johnny Cash sketch. It's okay. We'll just give him Bones.
The worms also have bones for money. That's so fucking random.
We just gotta wait till it gets to the chorus.
It's why only after tragedies they're nice. It's why they're religious, but no forgiveness.
Yo, I
and
hope
vice.
this is the undoing of this show.
This guy
I hope this brings the whole thing down.
Compassion or sincerity in their eyes. There's no good or evil. It's random. There's no truth or lie.
It's random.
You can't see, but everyone in this room is voguing right now.
Please,
No good or evil.
run, don't walk to your closest computer and look up this.
Go to your local Tower Records and buy
This song is
the
called
most recent Random.
God Evil, Geo Devil. Like, it's one
it's
word.
like if God was
God/devil.
and he's evil.
I want to give this guy
It's
his
random.
proper respects because, but like up until this, I kind of had this I have like a kind of a policy with like weirdo like internet freaks that hate me, where like all they want to do is come on this show and debate me, and I'm like, no, I will. I'm like not gonna like promote what you're doing at all. It's kind of just a non-aggression thing or whatever. But I don't know, Random, like, I'll play his music on the show. It's fucking, like, it's kind of harmless.
Do you have any music from Random?
That was it.
I mean, not music, messages from Random.
Yeah.
That really stand out.
I should read some Random
because
mail.
Random, in addition to just harassing all of the women in New York City at once, also is Jake's arch nemesis.
He has a weird infatuation with Jake and has done some of his open mic sets that he's put on YouTube. He talks in depth about Jake. And it's, again, not a joke.
It's not a joke.
He doesn't do jokes.
He just does epic takedowns.
Well, yeah, but then he ends the set by being like, I kind of love the guy.
Yeah.
I think
6 to 8 months ago, we were all convinced Random was going to kill everyone we know.
Yeah. So the thing about what the fuck is going on my Instagram? The thing about Random is that the reason he's obsessed with me is because a year ago when I got busted by Homeland Security and fucking, the story went viral and shit, this guy who also is like a comedian that's into politics on some level, he saw the story and he went, oh my God, I've also been visited by the authorities. And I think he was visited by the FBI because like they thought he was a fucking school shooter or something. And so,
son, have you ever been random? Have you ever been completely twisted, my dude?
They came and talked to him, and then he, I don't know, I fucking haven't even listened to like these clips he keeps sending me, but that seems to be the basic story. But his super villain origin here is that he was like, we're gonna be best friends, and then he looked me up and he listened to like this show and shit, and he was like, no, he's a Marxist and I'm a libertarian, and so we're like, Batman and the Joker to each other or something.
Dude, you turned against Random. It sucks that you're Batman and the Joker because there's no way you're Random and you're thinking like, I'm Batman. Your whole identity is the Joker.
Yeah, but he is Batman because Batman is a fucking cop.
Yeah, fucking cop.
Yeah, well, I think he's sort of like the Joker. I mean, yeah.
Batman is also pursued by the cops.
Right. But he's like a total nihilist. Like we
can all agree this is a perfect analogy.
I guess his whole thing is there's no good or evil. It's random. So he is kind of.
I don't think he could be any more clear about that.
He does think that like women are egoistic. I think like he has this weird philosophy that he's baked.
He's
up.
black-pilled.
Yeah,
he's MGTOW.
It's not right. It's not
it's
him.
MGTOW.
It's not original, right? This is
it's men going their own way. It's
a
specific misogynist.
Okay,
it's not
internet
good
thing.
or evil.
It's a very dangerous line of thinking usually, which is kind of why I thought he was going to kill us. But
it's not too late.
Hasn't happened yet. So now we're doing an episode on it.
This is not.
It won't be the whole episode. I took a picture of some graffiti I saw the other day. It says vultures circling the dead, picking up every last crumb. Some like super dramatic graffiti.
That's random.
And I just thought it was funny because it was like it was dramatic and shit. And then why the fuck is Instagram broken?
It's just weird how like not that long ago, Random was like every like suburban kid was like, me and my friends are literally the most random people ever. Like that was it would be tossed around quite a bit, and somehow it was morphed into this just disgusting.
It's like tween humor, I'm the penguin of doom, like that early internet shit. I seriously fucking Instagram.
Dude, when I do character creation on Fallout, I set it all to orc status. Me and my friends all think we're orcs. We're fucking crazy, dude. We go ghost ride the whip on a roundabout at the end of our street, and then Greg falls off the car, dude.
Can anyone look him up on Instagram? This has never happened. Instagram is just. I'm not even going through the fucking Wi-Fi.
Don't worry,
why is everything
homies.
broken?
Don't worry, I got you.
It's fucking broken around.
He's hacked. He's hacked our mainframe.
God, he's a genius.
He's in our goddamn phone.
He's so goddamn good. You know what, Random?
Important question.
I may hate
Is
you.
his name on Instagram Random?
I think it's Random Show The End.
Yeah.
So his name is like this weird portmanteau of like a bunch of different things. One of them being his nihilistic philosophy, but the other one is that he is apparently like a male sex worker who's like he dominates like rich women or whatever. He always posts like weird Instagram photos of all the dildos and shit he has, and he's just like, "Yep, another day in the grind" or whatever. And there's been some speculation as to whether that's real or
whether he's the worker or the customer.
There's a video he did where I guess he's doing his material while a woman is riding him,
Right.
as they say. You don't see
Which
her
usually
face,
you just
and he
save
calls
that.
her-
That's a submission tape for late night. We all have one of those, but we don't post it.
That's Drew Michaels' next special.
yeah, it's the girl from the fucking.
My dad is gay 9/11.
Okay, the random show at the end. His bio is aspire success, which is life's predetermined, illusionary, egocentric popularity contest of the acceptance just to survive. That's a joke, smiley face. No fucking idea what that meant.
Now, some behind the scenes stuff. That is not a joke. We've looked into it. You don't know where the setup ends and the punchline begins.
I think
There's
he's-
structural issues with that.
he looks like a scarecrow.
Yeah.
You know?
But he's just like,
He looks kind of like me, but a scarecrow.
there's like a Hot Topic shirt. He's evil Anders. Oh my god. Andum. Randers.
I don't know, dude. I think you have a better face features than Random. Random has a very prominent brow.
He's frowning all the time because it's all just a
He
joke.
just sees the abyss.
All right, random show the end. Humans can only see from their level of perception, so what you see me as is a reflection of only what you can comprehend. My goal, hilariously enough, is to open that perception so that you can have the awareness of perspective. If that offends you, it's because I've made you think. I think is he rapping in a time where everyone just wants to mindlessly follow ideologies that suit their ego. If you get it, it's because
ideology.
It's ideology. You are love in an atmosphere addicted to fear, and then there's just like 30 hashtags like misanthropic.
Dude, it's a joke. Don't you get it?
Yeah.
It's a joke. Here is my idea. It's you get pulled over, you're driving somewhere with your significant other, your girlfriend or whatever. You're going out to have a good night at Blockbuster Video. You're going to pick up one of your favorite videos at the local Blockbuster, and you're pulled over and you're waiting, and your girlfriend's driving. Who pulls up to the car? It's Officer Random.
Oh, God. That's probably what's going to happen. He's going to become a cop.
He's gonna become a lawyer.
I'm just trying to imagine like the speech you get from like, "Ma'am, are you a lying bitch?"
Yeah.
He's very direct in the videos, more than in the spoken word stuff.
He makes you blow into a breathalyzer, and then he like shows it back to you, and it's just got like a question mark on it. So, there's no such thing as drunk or sober.
You blow into a question mark, and fire comes out the other end.
Yeah. He fucking. I just lost my train of thought. I don't know. It's fucking random, dude. Fucking phone's broken.
I feel like we got to get some good on Random.
He has this thing with me, which is also like something that's really funny about comedy beefs or whatever, which is that like he hates me, but every time he insults me, he'll be like, "You may be funny." Which is like this weird honor among thieves shit that like super comedy dorks have, where they like they won't revert to calling you bad at comedy. Some people will. I mean, some people, obviously, comedy's subjective or whatever. But
Yeah, there's no rule you have to call them funny.
But he does this thing where he's like, "I fucking hate you because I love you so much." It's fucking weird.
Dude, you're going to live forever in Random's basement.
Yeah, dude. I feel weird because like this guy he seems like he might go off on
King.
He seems like he might do something bad at some point.
I mean, if that happens, we'll have a great record of the background on this
Here's the
podcast
thing.
now.
I don't believe in snitching to anybody, but if Homeland Security is already listening to this, we are kind of inadvertently giving them a tip of
Hey, give Random
someone
another
who
drive-by.
actually, who actually
Check
is a
him out.
threat to society.
Random, you're listening to this. Get help, dude. Go to the doctor.
Yes.
Self-care. You're crazy. You're a fucking crazy person. You could probably, take the edge off of that crazy a little bit, and then
Try try kratom.
Self-care, yoga.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, let's keep him away from an individual yoga class. Find a one-on-one session to do.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
warrior pose. The stance from hell.
Stance from hell.
He does that after every one. He's the only guy at the class, and they're just like, see, it's always like this.
What if this works and then he gets like really into the Bhagavad Gita and shit, and we make him even worse?
No,
He just becomes more powerful.
Obnoxious ponytail dude.
He brought his powers farther than they ever could have gone.
He can just float now. He's like, you've only made me more powerful. He's fucking flying around, chasing us and shit. Oh man, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm worried that we'll turn him into a Bernie bro. We don't need that.
That might actually be worse.
Yeah,
That
that
would
would be such a setback for
I
the
feel like
cause.
if he really wants to get us in the way that no one's expecting, it's fully become a huge damn fan and then just talk to as many people as possible.
He is, man. I think he listens to this fucking show. Although I don't think that he subscribes to the Patreon, or if he does, he uses like a fucking fake name.
Got him. Yeah. I'm a Billy Everyman.
Yeah.
The devil from Earth.
The devil from heaven.
Okay. Well, now that we've fully caught up on random,
That's just so
where
you guys,
he's been, random origins. That's the name of this episode.
Yeah, dude, he's just flying. It's a skin you can get in the Dark Knight, where he's just flying around as random.
He can see through walls.
Yeah. He goes into detective mode, dude. You can see like PC people.
There's one thing we for sure know, and that is that he is very similar to Batman, and that's why we have to keep bringing it up.
I think he's like anti-PC Batman.
Yeah. He's a long trench coat. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. All right.
Draw a line somewhere, and it's silencing white men.
We can
They have as much a right to speak as anyone else.
moving on a little bit. I'm going to continue a segment that I started a couple episodes back called Yang Thoughts. Andrew Yang is running for president, and he is really bad at Twitter. And you read things he says, and you think, this man cannot be the president.
No way will this man give me $1,000.
He
No way.
he was watching the NBA Finals the other night, and I guess he, in the middle of the game, just tweeted like, "There's going to be a big party in Toronto tonight," and then Toronto lost. You could delete the tweet. You could that's such bad optics for like, I'm a person who's able to predict things and I was running for president. Somebody fucking tweeted back and they're like, you owe everyone in Canada $1,000 tonight. He also just randomly tweeted the other day, Miley Cyrus is underrated. Fucking 3 days ago, dude. You're running for fucking president.
I hope he
Why?
wins. I hope he wins.
I mean,
It's what we deserve. We deserve to be punished.
did she say something bad about him?
Fucking just out of the blue.
I mean, that is a Trump move, but only if
No.
she's like dissed him.
He said underrated.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't like a Miley fucking dancing Cyrus.
Dancing Miley Cyrus
Yeah.
doesn't go back to the tractor anymore. She's forgotten her roots. Very ungrateful. Does nobody else want to see the Yang Trump debates?
You know what
Just one-on-one.
Oh man, that would fucking rule.
Yeah.
What I want to see is if he wins, then like a bunch of
Trump-
white like impressionist comedians have to do like a really offensive accent for.
He doesn't have an
Doesn't
accent.
have- yeah.
But you know who would have an accent
guess
is
he doesn't.
Donald Trump debating Andrew Yang. Immediately.
He's going to say some, yeah.
That's why we need to make this happen.
What is this guy, like Chinese or something?
His last name rhymes with Bang. We can't have a president that rhymes with Bang.
Like the bus.
I mean, his strategy right now is he wants to get on the first debate, and he's really, really hoping that he can be his podium will be put next to Biden's because he put this
So
at,
he can touch him?
well, he's going to be touched if he wants it or not, but he will. He's predicting that people will Google, and he thinks he has 8% odds at standing next to Biden, in which case people will Google, who is the Asian man next to Joe Biden? And that's going to be his rise to power, as people are going to get hooked on Yang.
I saw that, and
Can't
it's
stop
funny.
thinking about that Asian man next to Biden. Just because he was next to him.
Yeah.
He's like crunching the numbers on whether he'll be able to stand next to Biden, like it's like a gambling addict or something. And and then he's just counting on racism to make him president. All right, what the fuck actually happened in the news this week?
What the fuck's up, what the fuckers? Anders, take us to school.
Well, speaking of schools,
We need more songs. First of all, we need a Yang news song, and we need an Anders breakdown song, and we already have a random song. It's the only one we have.
I can make it happen. I bought some gear this week.
Yeah.
We'll get a little like, "Bow, bow, bow, Anders fucking blows your mind, bitch."
We got an interview coming up later with Shahid Buttar, who I'm sure will appreciate sharing an episode with Random.
They're making a split album, right?
Yeah. Well, he did rap. That's right. I didn't get to talk to him about this, but our guest later, who is challenging Nancy Pelosi for Congress from the left, was a rapper back in the day, and he has some pretty choice tunes you can look up on YouTube. But this week, we're just talking about Biden, who there's all these revelations coming out, or just like stuff that's been on the record, just it's being dug up because he's running for president. We got did you see the thing about he drops an N-bomb back in 1973?
I did
not. The big N-bomb, but the other one that I also shouldn't say.
Was it the one that was the appropriate term in 1973?
Yeah. I mean, it was... Huh? I wasn't around back then. He said...
Don't say it. You said it was a soft A? Is that what it...
No. It was...
No. There was never a point in time where that was the polite thing to call somebody.
Let's just say...
I just imagine him like, you know when those like substitute teachers get in trouble and they're like, what? They said it, I could say it. In one of those situations.
Let's just say it rhymes with regrow. You know that one.
Yeah,
all right.
That's just what people said in 1973.
Yeah, I think that was a little late for that. I think it was more 50s, 60s.
Oh, okay.
And then it started with Afro-American for a while. That was the thing.
I'm here to learn.
But
It's
Biden,
Anders corner.
Biden said that the two-party system is great for the, word. And... I don't know what point he's trying to make there. Yeah. But basically, I mean, this is like
New moon.
What if Bill Maher just starts saying Negro? Because it's like we can say this again now.
It's a Comedy Central show now.
I'm sure he's said that a million times.
Yeah. But it's not.
He has
the
no
other one.
rules. He's a truth teller.
He has no rules, and yet so many rules.
It's the duality that keeps us watching.
Yeah. But this is a pattern. So, this is back then, and I don't know what point he was trying to make that, why would that possibly be good for black people having, a two-party system? Like, you're getting less representation in this,
Isn't he just
duopoly.
defending the powers that be, which is like his go-to move? Because this is around the same time as, the busing movement stuff.
Right.
Which I was researching for a different episode on the way here. It's 1973 is the big, fire for that. And so I'm sure Biden had a lot of great quotes back then.
Yeah. And a lot of interest, he talks down to black people pretty consistently. Like, that's been a thing he does.
He's very tall.
A lot. Although he says he was involved in the civil rights movement, but someone looked this up.
He was holding the dogs.
Yeah, he's against it.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Technically involved.
Yeah, I mean, he was.
That's so
against
funny
busing.
to just take the technicality on that and just tell him I was there.
Well, it's even worse than that. He counts his involvement as working at a lifeguard at a swimming pool that had a lot of black people.
That's so fucking racist.
In a way, all lifeguards are civil rights here.
Okay, so in 1986, though, He's given a speech, and this is between. We've covered the Rainbow Coalition on the show. Check out the bonus if you want to hear a deep dive into that. But in 1986, he's given a speech at the NAACP convention in Baltimore, and he goes out of his way to attack Jesse Jackson. And this is between Jackson's two campaigns in the 80s. And Biden says, "We must reject the voices in my party who say, and you've heard it time and again, much progress has been made, and now we must wait for the Reagan revolution to run its course. But just as I and many other white leaders reject the voices of those who are calling for caution, you must reject the voices in this movement who tell black Americans to go it alone, who tell you can't, that coalitions don't work anymore, that whites and Catholics and Jews no longer care about the problems of black America, and that black should only represent black." Which, you're missing a pretty big part of that era, which is that Jesse Jackson was the head of the Rainbow Coalition. Like,
Right.
This is literally something that's supposed to bring different races together and fight inequality. But then he sort of, like, contradicts himself.
If you're drunk enough, the colors run together.
Yeah.
I'm a hard Scrabble family from Scranton, PA.
But he says later...
My Biden impression.
This is like a salty
Pepperidge
farmer.
Farm remembers to shut their damn mouth.
Yo.
Sorry. I'm so worked up about 80s Biden that I'm bumping the table.
And just kick the table over and freaked out.
And he says, but you can't go out and say this is class warfare. You can't pit the Rainbow Coalition. He finally acknowledges that's a thing. You can't pit that, blacks, Hispanics, poor whites, gays, against the middle class. Like, first of all, a lot of those groups, the ethnic ones and the sexual ones, are part of the middle class. Second of all, yeah, you can. Like, I mean, yeah, don't pit them against the middle class. Put them against the upper class. You need class warfare. Like, that's a decisive move by the Democratic Party at that time, which is to, instead of trying to do what Jesse Jackson was going for and uniting all these groups and trying to wrestle power from the hands of Reagan and the right, they bought in. They tried to become a Republican light party because that was the pragmatic approach. And of course, like, you know, we saw, I mean, not only does that not go well in the 21st century, Mondale lost by a landslide. Dukakis lost by a pretty big margin as well. Like, this is not good politics, you know, pragmatically or for getting the things that you ostensibly want done.
A lot of folks wonder how our cookies have stayed so good over the years. Our answer? My best friend is Barack Obama.
Can we actually play a clip?
Do that voice, but he's saying the N-word. Well, boop.
Can we actually play a clip from Biden in the 80s? This is a very
As a
funny.
lifeguard, shut the fuck up.
If look up Biden 1988. There's this. I swear to God, he's on coke in this YouTube video. He's just like flipping a shit at a reporter.
You gotta try a new.
It's this one, the Road to the White House one.
Press that shit.
What law school did you attend?
It's like Kevin from
You
The
gotta turn it
Office.
up.
Class. And the other question is, could you quickly? I think we. Also
I think I
consider
probably
Ronald
have a
Reagan.
much higher IQ than you do, I suspect. I went
Owned.
to law school on a full academic scholarship, the only one in my class to have a full academic scholarship.
Owned.
The first year in law school, I decided I didn't want to be in law school and ended up in the bottom 2/3 of my class, and then decided I wanted to stay, went back to law school, and in fact ended up in the top half of my class. I won the International Moot Court competition.
The
I
fuck
was
is that?
the outstanding student in the political science department at the end of my
Moot
year. I
court?
graduated with 3 degrees.
Moot court? I
Graduate
think it's like a
school,
fake
165 credits,
trial
only
thing.
123 credits, and I'd be delighted to sit down and compare my IQ to yours if you'd like, Frank.
If I could say one thing.
This is funny.
I think just in my own. I'm not.
He's doing a lot of lick-lipping.
I'm just
Lip-
saying
lip-licking.
the people that we have elected to office.
This guy's he's not even asking. He's like, I'm not even trying to be mean, Biden.
Well, I think you're right, Frank. But you know what I find kind of interesting? It seems to
Was
me if you
everybody
can
just
speak
on
your
blow
reliability
in the
Democratic
80s all the
Party anymore.
time?
Seems to
Oh,
me
hell
you've
yeah,
all
dude.
become heartless technocrats. It seems to me that you forget
True.
that what happens is we
You gotta
never
save
as a
those
party,
drowning
we
people
have
somehow.
never as a party, move this nation by 14-point position papers and 9-point programs. It seems to me that when we got involved in the civil rights movement, Frank, nobody asked Martin Luther King what his legislative agenda was. He marched to
Wait a
change
minute.
attitudes. When
He's
the
bald.
women's movement started, it did not
Yeah,
move
this
with
is
a
before he got the plugs.
constitutional amendment.
He has fake
It marched
hair.
to
He does.
change attitudes. And this party better understand full well that it's about time we change our attitude and we begin to change the attitudes of Americans about what their responsibilities are to the poor, about what their responsibilities are to other people, and about what our responsibility in the world is. And that requires changing attitudes. But Frank, I promise you, you'll see my 15-point plans and 19-point position papers, and you'll be able to make a judgment when Gary Hart and I stand there. Who knows more about foreign policy, Gary or me?
As a
And when you
lifeguard, it's
see
your
that
responsibility
Dick
to
Gephardt
save
and I stand
everyone
there,
in the
you'll be able to
pool.
make a judgment
It doesn't
whether
matter the
Dick
color of their
Gephardt or I
skin.
know more
Although
about
you're going to
economic
want to leave
policy.
them in there. You
Ultimately,
can't.
Frank,
Okay,
this country needs a leader.
he's bald
A
here.
leader
He has hair now.
attitudes about
Here's the thing
people.
about Biden.
And it's the
He
ironic
thinks that we don't
twist
remember shit.
that in
Yeah.
the
He
wake
He
of
thinks that
Ronald
no one
Reagan,
will go back
the
and
only
look at
one
anything
thing
ever.
He knew how to do was the one thing that is now being the currency of which is in fact being devalued so much. But
What?
Fuck
Yeah.
is he- He's going off on random shit there.
Yeah, it's just like he's making a good point. It's like keep it simple, stupid. Get you know, you gotta have hot. You gotta like have a good a platform that's mobilizes people, moves people. But it's got to be more than that. It's got to be more than just like words that just don't mean anything. Like give us a couple policies, like Jackson did. Give us some things you want to do. You don't have to get too down in the weeds with him, but
I guess the Biden stuff really just doesn't interest me that much because his whole track record is that he's a spineless, slithering politician who will change face to adopt pretty much whatever the Democratic machine wants and has for 50 years, and then nothing changes with that. It's just whether or not he has hair.
There's no good or evil. It's Biden.
Yes. Well, speaking of changing face, this week there was a gathering of the Democratic Party's the chiefs of staff for Congress, and they had a thing called, this is like a conference sort of thing entitled "How to Engage Downtown." That was the name of it.
Cunnilingus.
Yeah, which downtown.
Teaching Washington suits how to slurp the glurp.
For those who don't know, and I visited the city of D.C. many times, and I didn't know this, downtown is referenced, that's what they call K Street, which is like the lobby shop. So they have this like sort of retreat type thing where they show people how to relate to lobbyists, how to get along with the quote-unquote downtown community. And, they have the Jonathan Smith, who's a Uber lobbyist and was a chief of staff to Virgil Miller. Is
everyone wearing like zoot suits and crazy hats in the downtown community?
Well,
just a funky place to be.
Judging from the
downtown.
name of one of these lobbying firms, Aiken Gump, I would be not surprised if there were some zoot suits rolling around there.
If you want to make it on Funky Street, you gotta know how to jive.
Yeah. But they're literally teaching you how to socialize with lobbyists, and there's nothing about Medicare for all, nothing about any like the policies they want to pass. It's just it says.
Oh wait, you know what was great about that picture? The schedule for the evening. Telling everybody to go to. It does on the Intercept article. I saw it before, but the one listed below. The oh, yep, it's right here. Okay, so underneath. Fuck me, dude. Hold on, I clicked something.
Oh, here we go. Happy hour with GCCC partners and allies.
Yeah, what's the one under
to
that?
the gay community.
It's like how to speed date with your colleagues.
Yeah, speed dating.
What does it say? What's the exact title?
I don't know the full thing, but the Ugly Mug is one of the names of the bars.
Up here, speed dating with your colleagues at 2:30. These are the two priorities. It's like how to retire by leeching yourself onto the American political system and finding love from another one of these snakes you hate.
Snakes?
Snakes. They're words. Not really. And And then in italics at the bottom, enjoy the terrace before the next breakout session. Free terrace, I have to go.
Yeah. So this is like, there's no way to win with these people. Like, we have to, like, and this is, what we're going to get to later in the episode. They got to be taken out. We have, like, people are saying.
What does that mean?
Random, put down the musket, Random.
The musket.
It's got a turn of the century.
No, I'm saying people are talking about primaries, and right now there's one against Lipinski's pro-life Democrat in Pennsylvania, Henry Cuellar in Texas, very conservative Democrat. That's good. I support that, but what we really need to do, or nothing will change, is we have to take out the Steny Hoyers of the world. We have to take out the Chuck Schumers, the Seth Moultons, the Nancy Pelosi's. Electorally, yes.
Anders is advocating to outvote these people.
Yeah, which is doable.
No one should do karate to Nancy Pelosi. No one on the show thinks that.
You can't beat her anyway.
Yeah, she kicks ass. She's a badass. She's an enforcer. She was called an enforcer.
When
by
she
who?
did that,
That's how Ryan Grimm described her as for the.
Even Ryan Grimm couldn't beat her up. Our strongest journalist.
She did the sideways clap. She was actually summoning a Hadouken. But Trump's aura was too strong.
Fucking it up.
But now there's a thing where the DCCC is cutting off, they're blacklisting firms that work with primary challengers. So even if it's Lipinski, who is pro-life, if you challenge him from the left, you will be on a list, and you're not going to get any help from
You're cut off from funding from the Democratic establishment.
Yeah, which is like, at first I was like, oh, that sucks. That's, a big step back. But this makes things clear. This, clarifies the situation, because we can tell if you want to get anything done as a progressive in Washington,
you have to form a guerrilla unit.
Yeah. You need a separate organization.
Woods.
Yeah, you need to take on, you have to explicitly take on the DCCC. That's the only way this is going to happen. And thankfully, there is a school that's happening, sort of an online program where they're just making they're trying to raise and procure the next generation of AOCs. It's called Movement School, and you learn about.
You learn to dance.
Professor Xavier's School for Woke Bays.
Yes. But yeah, I think that's pretty exciting, because this obviously.
So what do you learn there?
You learn the nuts and bolts of fundraising, and how to budget a campaign, how to how to actually run the campaign, because the kind of the pretty well kept secret in Washington. It's so well kept, I know
Joe Biden is a lifeguard.
Yeah. A not so well kept secret, I meant to say, is that a lot of these consultants don't know what the fuck they're doing. And that's how AOC won, because Crowley was paying for these clunky ass mailers. He was buying TV. And instead, AOC came along and she's like, how about we knock on doors and try to get people through social media and talk, use the actual networks in this community that we're trying to reach people with. And that was more effective. That's a more effective way to run a campaign. And that's how we win. That's how we got to do it. And this guy I'm talking to in a couple minutes, he ran in 2018. But because California has their messed up ass jungle primary, you don't. You can. They just get the top two to go on the general election, so you can have two Democrats facing each other, which is what happened with the Senate race in California. But this guy came very, very, very close to making it into the top two, the general election back in 2018. So I think he could actually do it this year, especially because if he consolidates his support among progressives, he gets in there, then Pelosi's actually going to have to face only a progressive in the general election.
Right. Her one weakness.
Yeah.
As an enforcer.
Right. Question is,
I just imagine Nancy Pelosi like takes her shirt off and it's just like rippling abs.
She's Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat.
yeah. I mean, we'll see, because I didn't get to ask him this, but like San Francisco is kind of, I haven't been there in a while, but like it seems like it's not as progressive as it used to be. It's like a lot of tech people. So maybe that's actually her constituency and they want her and like her, and she could win. But I don't know.
If it's a new terrible town.
Yeah.
All right, so listen up next for this great interview.
Yeah, let's swing into that interview, and that'll be...
It's random.
Thank you for joining us, Shahid Buttar.
Thanks so much for having me.
So I got to start with an annoying question, but it's one I asked to all of the candidates we've interviewed on the show so far. Why are you running for office?
I'm running for office particularly because I've found the concerns that I and other advocates have spent our careers promoting. I'm particularly concerned about mass surveillance and have spent the better part of a decade fighting that. I've found our concerns to fall on deaf ears of the people that we elect to check and balance the executive branch, of the people that we elect to conduct oversight of federal agencies, of the people that we elect to promote a legislative vision to address the needs of the American people. And between a UN climate science report that gives humanity a urgent mandate to act boldly to address the climate crisis, to the crisis in healthcare that leaves so many Americans homeless due to their medical bills, I see an urgent need to defend our communities, and I'm running for office to try to do a better job of that than the corporate Democratic leadership has seen fit to do.
Right. You mentioned the leadership. You are, of course, challenging House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, who represents the district out there in San Francisco. So we're going to talk a little bit. Excuse me, Speaker of the House. That's a good thing to know. We're recording this in 2019, but you also ran for office in 2018, also against Congresswoman Pelosi. But you came up short in the primary. But California has a bit of an idiosyncratic sort of jungle top two primary. Can you explain to our listeners a little bit about how that works and how it somehow can give you some advantage in at least bringing a more progressive message to the fore and challenge being able to maybe take her on one-on-one in the 2020 general election?
Sure. A lot of people think of primary elections as each political party having their own separate election, and then the winners of those respective elections in the primary phase then going on to the general to confront each other. In California, we use a jungle primary system, meaning that all the different parties and all of their different candidates, we run in a single primary against each other, and the top two are automatically chosen for a runoff, and that's the general election, which is to say, two Democrats can emerge from the primary to then be in the general election. Since our state legislature adopted that mechanism for our congressional elections here, there has not been a scenario in our district where two Democrats have faced off in November. In 2016, an independent who endorsed me in the 2018 race, his name is Preston Pickus, he challenged Nancy Pelosi in the general election. In 2018, it was a Republican, Lisa Remmer, who made it to the general. She didn't mount a visible campaign, and she ultimately took second place because while I was the leading vote getter among a series of progressive candidates, there were a total of five of us, and that carved up the progressive field pretty dramatically. I did beat the nearest one to me by 50%, but I was still edged by 1,000 votes by the Republican. After, I should note, only 3 months in the race, and between now and the March 2020 primary, we still have 9 months, and we launched with 11 months. So I have a great deal more, I should say, runway than I did in the last cycle. In 2018, we won more votes than anyone challenging Pelosi in a primary from the left in a decade. We won as many votes as a prolific young member of Congress from the Bronx, by whom I'm very inspired, and who I hope to join in the chamber after the general election in November 2020.
Yes, we've heard of her. Yeah, AOC, as I assume you're talking about. So do you think the odds are increased quite a bit this time for you to actually beat out the Republican in the first primary and actually go head-to-head with Pelosi?
I have a great deal of confidence that we'll win the primary or take second place to Pelosi in the primary and win the opportunity to be in the general, if only because, again, I ran with 3 months in the race in the last cycle. We won 17,500 votes. We only came 1,000 votes short. I should note here also, we hit our win number. We hit the number that, in fact, we padded the win number from 2016. So we got more votes, again, challenging Pelosi from the left than anyone in a decade. And with that happening in 3 months, in the face of a divided field that I tried to consolidate within those 3 months, and now being the leading progressive challenger to Pelosi, to be also the first one in the field to file, I don't expect any other campaigns to, from the left at least, to garner a substantial portion of the primary vote.
And have you been able to sort of consult the other people who are interested in doing that, maybe some of the candidates from 2018, and say, look, we're just going to split the progressive vote? How successful have you been in getting people to coalesce around your campaign from the left?
The grassroots base is coalescing around our campaign on the left. I can't speak for the other candidates. I mean, I know that at least one of them is. I don't want to punch down or say, my mother told me if you have not a lot of nice things to say, maybe don't say them. So I'm not so inclined to speak about those folks, but I'm inclined to promote the movement and put the movement's interests before my own, which is why I'm in this race. It's why I filed in 2018, and I think it's why the local Democratic progressive voters chose me to be the leading progressive challenger to the speaker.
Well, while respecting your not speaking ill rule, I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about the person you are challenging, your member of Congress, Nancy Pelosi. What has her legacy been in terms of both the National Democratic Party and the leadership there, as well as the California Democratic Party?
For better or worse, Nancy Pelosi's had a long and storied career, and she has, to her credit, advanced a great many progressive interests. She has also decided not to show up for a great many of them. And in the current time slice, under the criminal administration of Donald Trump, for better or worse, and this is, I dare say, for worse, the speaker has chosen to embolden and enable our criminal president rather than mount meaningful, actual resistance to his administration. And I can demonstrate this in a couple different ways, the most obvious of which is impeachment. I think that it is a constitutional imperative that we hold the executive branch accountable for its crimes against the American people. That hasn't happened yet, and I think that that in itself is a reason for the 12th congressional district to choose a new voice. Moreover, the area for me that I think is most revealing here is Speaker Pelosi's longstanding and continuing support for the military-industrial complex, whose architect warned us in very prolific and in no uncertain terms to fear its impact, not only in terms of wars abroad, but also undermining our democracy and rights here at home. I've spent a lot of most of my career fighting the mass surveillance state that under the administration of President Obama became a bipartisan phenomenon. And it is sad to me that Speaker Pelosi feels the need to carry the Bush administration's water because the Obama administration held the glass for a while. But defending the Bill of Rights against the military-industrial complex is something to which I've long been committed and will remain committed. Having a seat in Congress and the opportunity, particularly to pose questions in oversight hearings, will put me in a better position to effectuate that resistance that I've long been waging in the courts, in the media, in the streets, and in the nonprofit sphere. Another area where I'd say Speaker Pelosi has been unfortunately disappointing, particularly I'd say, is with respect to the PAYGO rules. So because she is the speaker, she had the opportunity to impose unilaterally a set of fiscal austerity rules that were demanded by the Republican Party for decades and were, frankly, the object of a great deal of partisan debate throughout the 90s. When the Democratic Speaker of the House imposes Republican rules that prevent progressives from, for instance, spending into the federal deficit to meet the needs of the American people, to, for instance, fund whether it's food stamps or affordable housing block grants or, God forbid, Medicare for all, Speaker Pelosi ensured that the military-industrial complex would have discriminatory royally favorable access to the federal treasury, and that attempts to meet the needs of the American people would be required to offset any new proposals with tax increases or spending cuts in other areas. And that's a perfect example where I'd say the leadership of the Democratic Party has been incredibly effective in advancing Republican interests.
Now, she would say that, look, I got into politics to fight for the same values you stand for. We got this right wing country, and we just have to sort of appease the Republican base, or we're going to be voted out of office. Do you think there's any credibility to that? I mean, she's obviously not running in a swing district, but as a national leader of the Democratic Party, she says that the best strategy is to tack to the center. Do you think there's anything to that, or is she sort of overcorrecting on the lessons of Reagan?
I'm not sure about overcorrecting necessarily, but I will say she's wrong. And I think corporate centrists generally are wrong. And I'll explain why. There is a view among centrists that politics are a static phenomenon. And they presume that perspectives are arrayed along a bell curve, and they construct this vision of left versus right, in which their liberal ideals, which I would say are somewhat resignatory in the first instance, are the left edge. And I suppose corporate fascism is the right edge. And they want to aim for the middle where they think the votes are. And so they try to contrive positions to meet the bubble in the graph. And I would say that that is a confused perspective for a lot of reasons, not the least of which is it's an artificial spectrum. More importantly, the American people aren't in the middle of some artificially constructed graph. The American people are in crisis. They can't get doctors. They can't get medicine. Everybody's parents get sick. Anytime anyone gets sick in someone's family, they will ultimately likely get threatened with bankruptcy or homelessness. The American people don't have job security. The degree of precariousness that reaches across the middle class is unprecedented and I dare say alarming. And in the context of that crisis, what will be compelling at the polls is not a mealy-mouthed concession to corporate rule, but rather bold alternatives that meet the needs of working Americans, their families, and the future where they are at. Bold proposals like, for instance, Medicare for all, to ensure that our tax dollars enable housing to be treated like a human right rather than a commodity. Bold proposals like the Green New Deal to put a generation to work, doing the hard work in labor-intensive projects to ameliorate the impacts of climate chaos. These are a whole litany of ways in which we need bold alternatives, and the centrists who defer to corporate rule, who think that a bolder program won't sell in some parts of the country, I think they're confused, frankly, and I think their inability to consider a bolder approach is one reason why we need, frankly, to replace those voices with some new ones.
Right. I think you're certainly right. And something to watch out for in 2020 is if we do elect another Democratic House and then potentially Democratic Senate, a lot of these ideas are not going to happen as long as we have this leadership that's still tied to corporate money. But if I could leave you with just a question about your ideology, how you see the world, do you identify? How strongly do you take the label as a member of the Democratic Party? Do you identify as a Democrat, and so far as to identify as a socialist, as some of your compatriots have?
Yeah, I identify as a democratic socialist, and I want to unpack that. Most people focus on the socialism aspect of democratic socialism, and it's important. It is reflected, for instance, in some of those paradigm-shifting policies that I mentioned before, Medicare for all, establishing healthcare and shelter and food as human rights. Those are parts of the socialist project to which I'm very deeply committed. I am also concerned, however, with the first part of the equation. The democratic socialism means that I also am very committed, for instance, to voting rights. I'm very committed to civil liberties and the opportunities for dissent. I'm very committed to transparency and oversight of executive agencies. And I'm very committed to civil rights adequately enforced by the courts. And along all four of those dimensions, what remains of our democracy is crumbling. Our voting rights have eroded dramatically. Access to the polls is increasingly challenging, particularly for low-income Black and brown communities in politically contested states. in the counter-majoritarian leg of the Democratic stool involves the courts and the judiciary's capacity to meaningfully defend civil rights and civil liberties. That also has eroded dramatically. In a third dimension, the metastasis of domestic surveillance, and not just by the government, but also by particularly employers, is a incredibly pernicious threat to dissent that could kill democracy at its root. I fear has already done a great deal of damage in that regard. And then finally, the mounting executive secrecy and insulation from transparency and oversight threaten our democracy from a fourth angle. And so as a democratic socialist, I both want to advance the legislative vision to better meet the needs of the American people. I'm also just as concerned, particularly as an immigrant, in just defending the republic from itself. Seeing our criminal president enrich himself in office, make a mockery of process, basically give Congress the middle finger at every opportunity, and watching a supine Congress accept it preposterously, those are among the things that drove me to run. I'm a longtime advocate. I've spent 20 years building the progressive community, from filing the first case seeking marriage equality for same-sex couples in the state of New York in 2004, long before most Democrats showed up for LGBT couples. In fact, I'd say almost a full decade before the Speaker of the House showed up to support the rights of her constituents, to when I was doing everything from public art projects to direct action activism to policy advocacy, supporting the peace and justice movement to try to stop wars for profit abroad. In each of these contexts, I've seen our movement grow and flex over the last generation. I'm eager to see us finally gain some representation in Washington. I see just across the Bay, here in the Bay Area, Representative Barbara Lee very effectively advocating for the rights of her constituents. I look down the Bay and I see Representative Ro Khanna doing the same in San Jose. I think it is silly and unacceptable that the most conservative member of the Bay Area's congressional delegation represents the most progressive city in the country. And I aim to end that in November 2020.
Well, we wish you luck and thank you for joining us. How can people find out more about the campaign and find out where to give you money?
Appreciate that. Folks can visit us online at www.shahidforchange.us. You can also visit us on any of the major social media platforms at Shahid for Change. That's SHAHID like David, FORCHANGE. You can make a campaign contribution. You can sign up to volunteer. We are a grassroots campaign that is driven very much by the efforts of the dozens of volunteers that we recruited in the last cycle, plus the dozens more who we've recruited in this cycle since we launched in early April. We've got nearly daily mobilizations and several each day on the weekends. We invite any of your listeners who are concerned about the corporate co-optation of the Democratic Party to help us liberate the 12th Congressional District seat here in San Francisco.
All right. Well, thank you again. Have a great day.
Right on. Thank you, brother.
Wow, what an interview.
Yes, I was given the wrong Skype name for this guy, so apologies on not getting a longer, I had a limited amount of time as a busy man.
Thank you for your service.
Yes. Check out all the things he said to do.
Anyone that listened to the Mike Gravel episode is not worried about us doing too long of an interview. Or not long enough of an interview. I mean, that dude fucking went off.
Yeah. I will say this is probably, of the candidates I have interviewed in my short life, this is the most message disciplined one by far.
Shout out to him. I hope you win.
But you can find me at Anders Lee here on Twitter. And if you are in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, because you didn't know where that was, come please to my show Dummy. I'm going to be doing that on Monday, June 17th at Tattooed Mom. It's going to be at 7 p.m.
Great show.
And it's free. It's pay what you want. Hope to see some fans of Pod Damn out there, some of the Damn fam. Anders out.
Anders out. Alex in. Come see my weekly show if you live in Brooklyn. Sundays at 7 at Cherry Tree Bar. It's bad news. It's a comedy show. And then follow me on Twitter. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.
It's Jake here. Anders Jake here.
Anders Jake here.
It's Rand.
New
Jake.
Moon. I'm Jake.
New Jake. Check out my bi-weekly show, first and third Tuesday of the month. Next one is on the 18th, coming up here at El Cortez in Bushwick. It's called Yoko. I run it with Clara Kane and Ian Fidance. We've got Anna Saragina, Solomon Giorgio, Jane Harrison, Joe Castle Baker, and Amy Zimmer. Great fucking comics. I'm really excited to see some of these people. Some of them are in from out of town. I am also going on fucking tour a bunch. So if you are on the West Coast or in the middle of the country or on the East Coast, I think I'm going to do a big weird fucking Stussy S across the country. So in September, I'll be in the West Coast. Before that, I'll be at the Colfax Comedy Festival, and I'll be doing shows all over town in Denver on the weekend of like July 14th. Twitter, website, all that shit.
Most important plug of all, Max Ogle came up with New Moon, and he wants $5 for it.
Did he come up with that?
Do you think that's? I don't remember him coming up with it, but he's pretty insistent.
I think he just,
What's your Venmo, Max?
You want
what's your Venmo?
$5 for saying New Moon?
Just stuck a fork in our bit.
That's worth $5 to you.
If anyone liked the New Moon bit, at Max_Ogle on the Venmo app.
Okay.
$5.
Actually, sorry, I have one more thing to plug. Random is no longer our mascot. Our new mascot is this rat that I'm reading about right now. Rat broke into an ATM and ate $18,000 worth of cash and then died.
Whoa.
That's Antifa.
That shit rules.
Antifa rat.
All right, new rat. Bye.
It's finished.
It's finished.